Hello everybody. Let us start with chromatography. Chromatography is a part of analytical chemistry which is used to separate components of a mixture. You cannot analyze any compound or any mixture unless you have a single component. Obviously, if you are having a mixture of 10, 15, 20, 30 or even higher components, then you cannot do the analysis unless you separate out the each component of the mixture. Chromatography helps us to do that. Now let us first see the history of chromatography. Chromatography was introduced by a Russian botanist. Surprising, isn't it? A botanist introduced chromatography. A Russian botanist by the name of Mikhail Sweat, the spelling here is not correct, uh, first introduced chromatography. As you can see, the name chroma means color and graphy is to write. What he did was he took a leaf extract of leaf in ether and ethanol and poured into a glass column calcium carbonate, which was having calcium carbonate. Now, when he poured the extract, he got the components of the leaf extract separated on the column. Now, this was the initial separation done by separation on the column done by Mikhail Sweat. He did not elute out the components of the mixture. What he did was he took out the column, that is the calcium carbonate column, laid it horizontal, and then cut each section and then dissolved each component. That was the first time chromatography was done by Mikhail Sweat. Later on, and you can see that in this, the leaf extract is the analyte, the mobile phase is the ether ethanol combination. The separation of the chlorophyll pigments is the chromatogram, which you are obtaining on the column, and the stationary phase is the calcium carbonate. Now, this is what he did was liquid solid chromatography. Although he separated colored pigments in the beginning and named the technique as chromatography, nowadays, despite the fact that most of the mixtures are colorless, the name chromatography has been retained. Let's see further what happened. Sweat gave us liquid solid chromatography in 1903. Then in 1940s, early 1940s, Martin and Singe introduced liquid chromatography, that is your classic LC. That not HPLC but LC, that is liquid chromatography, where the mobile phase is passed under the gravity. They got a Nobel Prize in the 50s for this. Gas chromatography was introduced in 1950s, but commercial instruments were available only from late 1950s. However, due to some problems, chromatography did not become popular. Gas chromatography did not become popular till the mid of 1980s. We'll see what were the problems and how they were overcome when we do gas chromatography. HPLC was first brought into the picture in 1966-67, and then later on in 1990s, supercritical fluid chromatography was introduced. Now let us see how the classification of chromatographic methods is done. The chromatographic methods are classified on the basis of classified on two ways. One is based on the physical means, what type of chromatography you are doing, whether it is planar chromatography or column chromatography. Planar chromatography is your paper and TLC, whereas column chromatography is your GC, LC, SFC, etc. In planar chromatography, the stationary phase is there on the planar surface, and in column chromatography, the stationary phase is there in a column. Uh, the other way you can classify the chromatographic methods is based on the type of mobile phase and stationary phase and the type of equilibrium used. All chromatographic methods, they involve a stationary phase, a mobile phase, and the sample component, and the separation is done on the basis of certain equilibrium. Either adsorption takes place, or partition takes place, or ion exchange takes place, or exclusion takes place. The main function of chromatography is to separate the components of the mixture. Now, when the components of the mixture pass through the column, they separate according to their affinity for the mobile phase and the stationary phase. If they are having more affinity to the stationary phase, they will be retained in the column and they will come out later on from the column. Whereas if a component of a mixture, if a constituent of the mixture is having less affinity for the column, it will come out fast. So the migration rate of each component through the column is different, and because of this they get separated. Now let us see the various column chromatographic methods which are available right now. The general classification is gas chromatography, liquid chromatography, and supercritical fluid chromatography. This classification is based on the mobile phase which is used. Gas chromatography is very popular, and you can have under this gas liquid chromatography and gas solid chromatography. Gas solid chromatography is not that much used nowadays, but GLC is one which is mainly used. In the case of GLC, the stationary phase is a liquid adsorbed or bonded to a solid surface, and the separation mechanism is based on partition between gas and liquid. In gas solid chromatography, the stationary phase is a solid, and the mechanism mechanism of separation is adsorption. The second type of chromatography is liquid chromatography. In this, you can have liquid liquid chromatography, liquid solid chromatography, ion exchange, size exclusion, and affinity chromatography. In your liquid liquid chromatography, the stationary phase is a liquid adsorbed or bonded to a solid surface, and partition between the immiscible liquids takes place of the components of the mixture. In the case of solid chromatography, and in the case of a liquid solid chromatography, the stationary phase is a solid. Again, LSC is not that much in use. A third type of liquid chromatography is ion exchange chromatography. In this, it is useful for separation of ions. Ion exchange resin is used as the stationary phase, and the mechanism of separation is ion exchange. The fourth type of liquid chromatography is size exclusion chromatography. In this, you are having polymeric solids which are present in a liquid, and you are having a mixture which is composed of constituents which are having different sizes. The smallest sized components or the constituents, they come out of the column first, and the larger molecules, they come out last. It's a reverse way. The largest molecules come out first, and the smallest molecule come out the last. Okay, it is like if you are having a class of, if you are having a school, if you are having different classes in a school, if you are having students of various classes, higher grade students, they generally tend to go to home straight away from the school after the school is over, because they have to study a lot. Whereas the small children, they roam about here and there, and they reach the home later on. The same way in size exclusion, your small molecules, they will come out later on, and the larger molecules, they will come out first. So this method is one of the technique of liquid chromatography. Another method is the affinity chromatography. In this, group specific liquid is bonded to a solid surface, that is used as a stationary phase, and partition between the surface liquid and the mobile phase takes place, and that is the mechanism. The third type of chromatography is supercritical fluid chromatography. Here the mobile phase is your supercritical fluid, and this showed a lot of promise in the beginning, but it didn't become that much popular. But still you have to study, and in this the stationary phase is same like same like your liquid chromatography, an organic liquid bonded to a organic species bonded to a solid surface. That is the stationary phase. And the mechanism is partition between supercritical fluid and a bonded surface. So these are the various types of chromatography, column chromatography, which we have to study one by one. We'll be studying gas chromatography, liquid chromatography, and in that we'll be seeing high pressure liquid chromatography and ion exchange chromatography, size exclusion chromatography, and then we'll be seeing your supercritical fluid chromatography. Now, how does the elution takes place on a column? The next slide will show the process of elution on a column. Now, in this slide, you can see the column is there in which you are having a stationary phase which is there on a stationary support. In the first part of the diagram, you are introducing the sample composing of two components A and B into the column. So that is the initial position. Then you have to carry out the elution with the mobile phase. When you pass the mobile phase, you will find that the components of the mixture move down and they get slightly separated. So after a time t1, you will find that your B and A, they are separated slightly, and you keep on doing the elution, and if you see the third column, B and A, they get separated at time t2. You keep on passing the mobile phase, and at time t3 your B is in the column but A has come out of the column and it is in the detector. Now the detector will detect it. You are having a detector kept below. The line with the dot shown is the position of the detector. And then you, at time t3, the component A will come out, and you can see that if you are having a detector signal versus time plotted, you get a peak, and that is when A comes out. Further down, if you do more of the elution, then your B comes out of the column and you get a peak due to B. So this in this way you get the the separation takes place in a chromatographic column. You can see that as the components of the mixture move down the column, they get separated, as well as the band of each component broadens. Now that is actually not desirable, because if you are having multiple components, these bands may overlap, but it is inevitable or unavoidable, and you will get bands. You get band broadening. You have to control the band broadening, and we'll see later on how we do it. The lower part of the diagram shows the chromatogram. Chromatogram is nothing but the detector signal versus time. So long as no component is reaching the detector, you will get a flat line. But once the component of the mixture reaches the detector, you get a signal and you get a peak. And if you are having two components, you'll get two peaks. If you are having multiple components, you'll get multiple peaks. Now, there are two factors which affect the efficiency of a separation of any chromatographic method. A method is very efficient provided the migration rates of solutes are different, and secondly, the zone broadening is less. Migration rates of solute must be different and zone broadening must be minimum. If the migration rates of solutes of the mixture are same, then they will overlap and they won't get any separation. So you have to create conditions so that the migration rates of different solutes are different. Zone broadening, as we have seen if you see in the second part or the second column shown, the zone broadening is less. In the third one, it is more. and in the fourth one the components are separated and the broadening is quite large. Now this zone broadening is not avoidable, but you have to avoid it, try to reduce it. Okay, you can see that zone broadening, uh, if you had placed the detector inside the column at time t1, you would not have got the separation, but the peaks would have been narrow, but overlap would have been there. Now, as you move down in time after time t, the components have got separated, but the bands have become broad, and you are getting zone broadening. Now, there are ways of uh, increasing the efficiency of the column. Now, in this case, in the next diagram, you can see that you are having a two-component chromatogram. In the first part, A part, you are getting two peaks, but they are not well separated because the rate of migration is not sufficiently large, and also broadening has taken place. Now, if you want to do that, if you want to do a separation, either you increase the difference in the rate of migration of the components of the mixture, or you reduce the zone broadening. In part B, they have shown that they have changed the rate of migration. So component A's rate of migration is much different from component B. So the peaks appear separated, but still they are not totally separated because there is some overlap. Now in the third part, that is part C, they have not changed the rate of migrations of the component, but they have reduced zone broadening, and by reducing zone broadening, they have got the separation. So zone broadening and rate of migration, these are the most important part in chromatography. If you want to achieve better separation, you should have a lower zone broadening and differential rate of migration for various components of the mixture. If the components of the mixture don't have different rate of migrations, the separation will not take place, and your technique will fail, right? Okay. Now this concludes the first part of the introduction. Now we'll continue this in the next part. Thank you.